Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, big news, and that is Syria has fallen. Bashar al-Assad regime collapsed. The rebels won. In this video, I will show you who won, who lost, what will be the consequences of Syria being where it is going to be. I will bring the America's New Century project, if you're not familiar with that. I will give you names to understand who is behind all this. The point is the Russians lost, the Americans won, Israel won, Turkey lost, the Arabs lost, Iran lost, the Syrian people overall lost. Why? In order to kind of predict the future, you look at the past. Therefore, you look at Iraq, you look at Afghanistan, you look at Libya, you look at Syria, and see how great these countries are after they were touched by Al Capone. Bashar al-Assad fled the country. He boarded his plane and left Damascus. There are reports that his plane crashed. If his plane crashed, I suspect it was a missile, maybe an Al Capone's missile. I don't think it just crashed, and I don't think the rebels just shot at it. The rebels, which could be called jihadists, could be called terrorists, could be called democratic forces, were backed, trained by Al Capone and others. And remember, Syria, I make a prediction, will have the same fate as Libya. Why? Because that benefits one country in the Middle East. But that country is not behind this with our hands. I will show you a few articles here, and I will show you the project of the new American century. That's where it started. That's where the ideology was put in place. If you're not familiar with that, that's bad. I will name names, and most of them are Steins. I will also use the Institute for the Study of War because we have some Kagans or Kaganoviches or Steins, and you're gonna draw your own conclusions. Let's start with the first article, which is right here, as you can tell. There you go. Ukraińska Pravda. Syrian rebels have captured Damascus. Assad's regime has fallen. So they are called rebels by the Western media. You'll see. Wherever you're going to see an article in the Western media, the free media, they will be called rebels. But remember, the guys in Donbass are not called rebels, the ones that fought the regime from Kiev that sent tanks in the same way Assad sent tanks. So, that's a fact, has fallen. The Syrian rebels announced on the morning of 8th of December that they had captured the Syrian capital, Damascus. The country's president Bashar al-Assad is reportedly to have fled. We declare the city of Damascus free from the tyrant Bashar al-Assad. And you put instead, whom? All right, next. Syrian government falls in stunning end to 50-year rule of Assad family. I like democracy. Control democracy. That means not every baboon can, do what they do best. And these are the happy people. They're happy. Associated Press, happy. So again, the Syrian government fell early Sunday in a stunning end of the 50-year rule of the Assad family after a sudden rebel offensive sprinted across government-held territory and entered the capital in 10 days. Remember, the government was legitimate and the United Nations. So these rebels are what exactly, if they toppled in a military way a regime? I mean, let's stick to the terms that we're using. All right, so this is one. But I will get you to the Russians. Jihadists topple Syria's Assad. Live updates. The Syrian president's plane has reportedly left the capital, and the country's armed forces have withdrawn from positions in Damascus. Good. Now they say right here that the Syrian Prime Minister Mohammed al-Jalali has already offered to cooperate, quote-unquote, with any leadership chosen by the people, also claiming that he remains in his home. HTS, a group led by a former Al-Qaeda commander. Can you remind me who funded Al-Qaeda and who provided Al-Qaeda with weapons? What arms manufacturing companies Al-Qaeda had? I don't think they had any. I think other people had. You know exactly what I'm talking about? So, let's continue. So this group, previously known as Jabhat al-Nusra, launched a surprise offensive from the opposition-held province of Idlib in northern Syria last week. I will show you all that. So what they did best. Let's see further. Israel deploys troops to buffer zone with Syria. Syrian Army informs officers of regime change, Reuters. Russian ships still at Tartus base, Lavrov. All right, I will show you where all this is located. This is Syria. This is Syria's shoreline right here, and then is Lebanon, and then we have this is they started here in the Idlib and Aleppo in the north, and they went down to Damascus. Eventually, they entered from here and they got to Damascus. Now here is Israel. Okay, they entered this buffer zone. That means taking territory. That means occupying territories in self-defense, preemptive defense. So we got some losers and we got some winners. Here, this is Tartus. This is where it is, the Russian naval base. Will they go ever somewhere? I have no idea. The Americans have this part right here. Now I think they have everything. Aleppo is right here. This is where these guys, Golan Heights, Israeli occupied. Under the United Nations, it's called Israel's occupation. So these guys got in the buffer zone right here. So more territory. All right, let's go to where this thing actually... let's go to this one. The Assad regime has fallen, claims Swirl around possible crash of his escape jet. All right, now, I would like you to remember this before you go any further. Project of the New American Century. If you're not familiar with this, sorry, you have to go and study this. So this was founded by William Crystal. You know William Crystal? Crystal, a frequent commentator on several networks, including CNN. All right. He was founder or editor-at-large of the political magazine The Weekly Standard. Now let's see who this guy is. All right. This guy, if you look at here, and we have Robert Kagan. So he is, he's Jewish. All right. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Now remember, we have here Mr. Kagan, Project of the New American Century. So we're going to go back. So we see here Kagan. Robert Kagan. Okay, let's see who this Robert Kagan is. All right. So Mr. Robert Kagan, he is a, Lithuanian Jew. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But he has a wife. The wife is Victoria Nuland. She's Jewish. Now this guy here has a brother. All right. And his brother is, so his name is, that's his father, obviously. So he is Robert. The other one is, where are you, baby doll? I will find you in a second. Why? Because we go to the Institute for the Study of War, and we have here the president and the founder is Kimberly Kagan. Yes, she's Jewish. And no problem with that, right? And she is, right? She is the wife of whom? Where are you? Right there. Friedrich Kagan. And Friedrich Kagan, he's Jewish. He's the brother of the other Kagan, Robert Kagan. So whenever you're going to hear, and we're going to go back to the American Century, New Century Project, and we're going to discuss some more things over there. So it's just a coincidence that the Institute for the Study of War is the most quoted and revered think tank in the war in Ukraine by the Ukrainians. By the way, Zelensky is Jewish, the president of Ukraine. The prime minister of Ukraine is Jewish. The chief of staff, Yermak, is Jewish. Reznikov, remember, the defense minister of Ukraine was Jewish. Now we have a Tatar, Umerov. All right, so let's go to the project of the New American century and see what's going on. So this is a neoconservative neocon think tank based in Washington, D.C., like the, where is it? Institute for the Study of War, right? Again, Institute is an American nonprofit research group and advocacy think tank. Okay. So we have this one. It says that the goal was to promote American global leadership. And American leadership, they say, is good for both America and the world. And if you look down here, you have other guys, like, for instance, Paul Wolfowitz, Jewish. If you don't know who that is, you got Irving Stelzer. You go and check him out, all right? No problem. I mean, I'm just saying. And you got the imbecile Bolton, obviously, somewhere here. Can show you here, John Bolton, this imbecile, the mustache man. This guy is a bad dude. So we find out here again, Crystal, and they will tell you that the United States should adopt a stance of benevolent global hegemony. So remember, this was in 1996, 1997. The hegemony that the Russians are talking about. So when you hear the Russians talking about the hegemony, this is where it comes from. And they tell you what's going on. A statement of principles. So that means the United States will be the only guys in town. Why? Because we are the best. And calls for regime change in Iraq in 1988. Crystal and Keegan advocated regime change in Iraq and says that, they need to take care of Iraq. And we have Paul Wolfowitz. We have Abrams, all right? We have this imbecile right here, okay? And what's going on? They have to no longer depend on our partners. They have to take care of the, right here, removal of Saddam Hussein, portrayed as a threat to the United States and its Middle East allies. That's only one over there that they care about. And oil resources in the region, and emphasizing the potential danger of any weapons of mass destruction under Iraq's control, which was a lie, correct? Correct. So I have to show you something else if I find here, but anyway, they started the beautiful intervention in Iraq. And then Afghanistan, and based on the attacks, remember September 11th attacks, right there. Now, Adelson, go and check this guy, right? He's written a lot of people for us imbeciles, all right? A lot of things. All right, so this is just a little piece of information together with the Institute for the Study of War. So who are the winners and who are the losers? Winners. Those guys for the interests of one country in the Middle East. None other, because the other ones, remember, countries that are not talking against this, they are just subdued by the United States of America. The ones that are not subdued, the regime change will occur. Iran is next. The other guys are listening to the orders and not getting out of line. These jihadists or rebels, or how you want to call them, if you think that's okay, I would like you to remember that you say it's okay today, on the 8th of December. And I want you to remember in 1 or 2 years after this and see where Syria will be. Syria will have the same fate Iraq had, and Afghanistan and Libya. The project of the new century, American new century, said this: we have to topple all those guys, including Iran being the last one, for the benefit of Kagans. All right? Now, did we, American people, have anything to do with that? Of course we do. We voted presidents, we voted senators, we voted all these guys that eventually they made decisions in our names. And they landed in Syria, if you remember, illegally occupying the northeast of Syria, which has oil. We trained, we armed, or they trained, they armed. Now who lost again? Syrian people definitely lost. If they thought they had a bad life under Bashar al-Assad, I guarantee you that would be going down fivefold. Gonna go down. Like Iraq, for instance. I'm not defending Assad. That's his thing. The Syrian people should decide. But if these guys topple this government, it means that there will be some other rebels that will be entitled to do the same thing. Or these guys are the democratic forces only. What if it's going to be another group that's going to say, we are the democratic forces. We don't like that the Americans are here. So, Syrian people lost. The Arabs in general lost. Iran lost. Israel won. Turkey lost. Turkey thinks that they will be calmless with the Kurds in the northern Syria. The buffer zone will be protected and excellent done by the Americans. They will not. Turkey, if it doesn't follow order, will have the same fate. So, the hegemony, go and study that, the project of New America, or whatever, the new century. Project for the new American century. Please do that. I've been familiar with it since they invaded Iraq, and they were talking about doing that. That was what, 2001, right? Because you have to know shit. So, my friends, Bashar al-Assad could be dead. If it's not dead, probably he's going to go eventually to Russia, because he's not going to be safe anywhere he would like to go. This is what these guys are doing to the tyrants. Remember, tyrants. Yeah. But if it's so, why don't they go to, let's say, I'm not promoting this, I'm not instigating or anything, but do you think that Mr. BS, Master BS, which is Mohammed bin Salman, do you think he's a Democrat? Do you think he's a tyrant? Or it's in between? Why is he still over there? Well, because he's following orders. And this is a sign, this is an example for everybody to look what we did. Now, what can Russia do? I think Russia will keep its port over there until they will be probably kicked out by the whomever is going to get over the Syrian government, the democratic Syrian government, and they will do what they do best. They will tell the Russians to leave, and I think the Russians will leave. That's what I think. But that, in the same, how should I put it? It fell because the Russians and the Syrian army could not fight these guys. That tells me big limitations of the Russians. So if I think that these guys were incapable of fighting back the rebel forces, that tells me what's going on in Ukraine. Do you think the Russians are extended? I don't think so. I think they're just focused on their turf with bricks. It's okay. You take this, Syria. We lost, because definitely the Russians lost. Is there an understanding? I don't know. Between the Americans and the Russians, I'm talking. I don't know. I will make another video here with Mr. Trump coming and saying that actually the Ukrainians want to negotiate now with the Russians. So I don't know, kind of coincidental. All right, my friends. Sorry for you, my Syrian people. I don't foresee you having freedom and democracy. You will have as much freedom and democracy as, I don't know, the Libyans have. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.